Now here we have an idler pulley off my truck, but these idler pulleys with these bearings in them are on many cars and trucks, and I'm going to show you how to basically, in case of an emergency, in case you absolutely need to, how to get this bearing out and replace it with a different one without a whole bearing pressing kit. Now, before we start, I'm going to absolutely recommend you do this the proper way and press it out with the kit. But if nothing else, if you're out on the trail and this bearing seizes up or something, it's actually not that complicated. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a socket or a round piece of tubing or something that will fit on the outside ring of this bearing, but will also slide inside this housing here. And basically we're just going to line it up as perfectly centered as we possibly can and give it a couple good thumps with the hammer. Now I have a sheet of pretty thick steel here to give me a good backing, so there's no vibration coming back from it. That way I can get as much force out of the hammer as possible. So one whack at a time. We'll make sure to line this up perfectly and then give it a thump. And we'll line it up again. Give it another whack. Then you see how the bearing is starting to be pressed in there, and this socket actually fits right on the inside of there. We're basically just pressing it out. And there we go. There's the bearing out. Now we can replace it with the new one. But just because we're here, the same thing can be used to put the bearing back in. Now the reason we use a socket, especially when putting them back in, or something similar to this even in the pressing kit, is because we want to press as evenly on the bearing as possible so we don't damage it or warp it on the inside in any way and ruin it before it even gets into use. So again, we'll just put the bearing in there as straight as possible. We'll line up the socket on there as straight as possible, and then give it a couple good thumps. And there we go. Now this bearing is already trashed, which is the reason I'm replacing it. But that's how you get these bearings in and out in case of an emergency.